The human who became her father was just a solider, and the Empire froze in fear. But humans, Kane knew, were dangerous not because of strength alone, but because of their mind, their instincts, and their unpredictability. The interstellar empire that ruled this sector considered humans expendable. They were odd, fragile creatures in the grand scheme of alien life. The Empire had fleets that could crush planets, technology that bent light and gravity, and warriors bred for war for hundreds of generations. And yet Kane had seen something the aliens never expected. Humans never gave up. "Captain Kane," a robotic voice chimed through the shuttle, "the assignment brief has been uploaded to your console." Kane leaned forward and scanned the file. A small, distant planet named Viewership Prime had fallen under attack by local insurgents, rebels who resisted the Empire's rule. The Empire's plan was simple: evacuate the planetary heir, Princess Lyra, and ensure she reached a safe stronghold. "Just a simple escort mission," Kane muttered under his breath, though he doubted anything in the Empire was ever simple. The princess had never left her palace. She was young, barely 16, and unaware of the galaxy's cruelty. Kane didn't expect much from her. Most of the time, royalty couldn't handle reality. But Kane had a habit of turning expectations upside down. The shuttle touched down on the desolate outskirts of Viewership Prime. Smoke rose in thick plumes from ruined cities. Soldiers and Imperial agents moved with mechanical precision, gathering the princess and escorting her to the shuttle. Lyra emerged from a small armored pod, her face pale and frightened. She had hair the color of sunlight and eyes that shone like emeralds, and she looked at Kane with a mixture of fear and curiosity. You're my bodyguard?" she asked, her voice small. Kane nodded. "That's right, and I take my job seriously." Lyra tilted her head. "I've never met a human before. You're ordinary." Kane allowed a brief, almost imperceptible smile. Humans were ordinary in appearance, yes. But ordinary could be lethal. Ordinary could survive when the universe seemed against you, and ordinary could outthink the strongest empire in the galaxy. The shuttle took off, leaving the burning city behind. Aliens patrolled the skies, and Kane could see the Empire's robotic reconnaissance drones scanning for any threats. But the humans had one advantage the aliens never understood: thinking outside the rules. It wasn't long before trouble found them. A squadron of fast, black fighters descended from hyperspace, aiming directly for the shuttle. The Imperial officers inside the ship panicked. "We're under attack. Evasive maneuvers." Kane grabbed the controls. "Listen carefully. Step 1, panic is for people who die first. Step 2, we survive." He spun the shuttle sharply, narrowly avoiding the first wave of plasma blasts. He knew the aliens expected him to follow standard maneuvers, patterns, routines, predictable. Humans didn't follow patterns. Humans adapted. Lyra gripped the edge of her seat wide-eyed. You're amazing," she said. Kane shook his head. "Amazing isn't the word, surviving is." For hours, they dodged attacks, weaving through asteroid fields, through debris from destroyed planets, through gravity wells the Empire used as natural traps. Kane used the environment itself as a weapon, ramming asteroids into enemy ships, turning their strength against them. By the time the last attacker was disabled, Lyra was breathing heavily, awestruck. You're not like anyone I've ever known. You're human." Kane allowed himself a small grin. "And humans don't stop until the job is done." It was then that the first true test came. The shuttle's sensors picked up an ambush near the outer rim. The Empire's intelligence had underestimated the rebels. A fleet of enemy ships blocked their path, more numerous and advanced than Kane expected. The Imperial officers inside the shuttle were panicking. "We can't fight them, turn back." Kane's jaw tightened. Turning back isn't an option. He quickly assessed the situation. There were too many enemies for a direct fight, but humans didn't always need to fight directly. Humans used brains over brawn. Kane mapped the asteroid field ahead. He calculated speed, trajectory, and gravity. "Lyra," he said, "hold on to something. I'm about to get us out of here." Lyra's hands tightened around the seat strap. "I trust you." Kane maneuvered the shuttle into the heart of the asteroid field. Enemy ships followed, but were not designed to handle the chaotic gravity shifts. One by one, the alien ships collided with rocks, spun out of control, or crashed into each other. Kane's shuttle darted through the chaos like a fish in a storm. By the time they cleared the field, the remaining enemy vessels had retreated. Lyra looked at Kane in disbelief. You just did what? You saved us." Kane leaned back in his seat. "Not me, humans. We survive." For the first time, Lyra saw a spark of something she never expected in humans: cleverness, courage, and instinct that no machine or army could match. She started calling him father, a term that felt strange but comforting, even though Kane had never been one. The shuttle continued its journey to the stronghold. Kane and Lyra had only a few hours of rest before landing, but the aliens weren't done. Kane's unconventional methods had already caught the attention of the Empire. High-ranking alien officials began to panic, realizing humans were far more dangerous than they had been told. When the shuttle landed on a barren moon that would serve as a temporary base, Kane stepped outside. The cold wind bit at his face, but he didn't flinch. He surveyed the terrain and calculated the defensive positions. The rebels might attack at any moment, and Kane knew he had to be ready. Lyra stayed close, clutching a small weapon Kane had taught her to use. She was nervous but determined. She wanted to understand what humans were capable of. "Captain Kane," she asked, "why do you keep smiling when things are so dangerous?" Kane looked at her, his eyes calm and steady. "Because humans don't know how to quit. Danger is just a puzzle waiting to be solved." Lyra nodded slowly. "I want to be like that, like you." Kane crouched down to her level. "You already are, you just don't know it yet." That night, as they watched the stars from the small moon, Kane thought about the Empire and their arrogance. They believed humans were weak, predictable, and simple. But humans were more than that. Humans survived impossible odds, turned disasters into victories, and inspired others to rise with them. Lyra slept beside him, safe for the first time in her life. Kane stayed awake, scanning the stars, ready for whatever the Empire would send next. He knew this was only the beginning, because humans, Kane knew, were a force the galaxy had never truly measured. And one soldier, just a soldier, could change everything. And somewhere across the vast expanse of space, the Empire began to whisper in fear. "The human captain, he is unlike any they have faced before." The barren moon, once quiet and still, was now alive with movement. Captain Elias Kane had transformed it into a fortress, simple but effective. Sandbags, barricades, and makeshift observation towers dotted the landscape. Rebel fighters, many inexperienced and frightened, looked to him with a mixture of awe and hope. Humans, they soon realized, were different from any alien warrior they had ever seen. Lyra watched Kane as he inspected the defenses. Her small hands clenched the edges of her tunic, partly in nervousness, partly in admiration. She had been trained to follow rules, to stay within the safety of walls and plans. But Kane did not follow rules, he made his own. "Captain Kane," she said, stepping beside him, "how do you know where to put everything? How do you know it will work?" Kane glanced at her, his eyes sharp and steady. "Because humans think about things others can't. We imagine the impossible and make it real. We survive because we try what no one else would dare." Lyra stared at him. "I want to learn. I want to be like you." Kane's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then you will, but learning isn't about standing still. It's about doing, and sometimes doing hurts. Sometimes people die. That's reality." The princess nodded, her eyes serious. In that moment, she began to understand that survival was not about comfort or privilege. It was about courage and quick thinking, qualities humans seemed to have in abundance. The first attack came at dusk. Alien ships had detected the base and squads of soldiers descended from orbit. Their weapons were advanced, their armor nearly impenetrable. Most would have panicked. Most would have surrendered. Not Kane. "Listen up," he shouted to the rebels. "You are alive because you refuse to die. Stand firm. Move smart. Watch your corners. The humans will show you how." Lyra took her place beside him, gripping the small blaster he had given her. Fear surged in her chest, but Kane's calm determination anchored her. The first wave hit. The aliens charged with brute force, expecting the rebels to scatter. Instead, Kane turned the environment itself into a weapon. Rocks, debris, and hidden trenches became deadly traps. Enemy vehicles toppled over craters he had dug. Missiles were deflected into each other. Kane moved with fluid precision, predicting enemy movements as if he could read their minds. The rebels watched, mouths open, as humans performed the impossible. Kane himself was everywhere at once, patching barricades, redirecting fire, and even leading counterattacks with a handful of fighters. Every move seemed dangerous, yet every move succeeded. Lyra saw him take a direct hit from a laser blast, stumble, and then continue fighting without hesitation. She gasped. He's just a human. How can he survive that?" Kane caught her look and grinned, blood streaking his face. "Because humans don't quit. Not ever." By the time the enemy retreated, the rebels had won a clear victory. Few believed it could be done. And yet, it was humans who had turned the tide of battle with nothing but cleverness, courage, and sheer willpower. That night the moon glowed under twin suns, and the rebels celebrated quietly. Kane treated the wounded, repaired weapons, and plotted the next moves. Lyra stayed close, absorbing everything. She asked questions about tactics, traps, and even the philosophy of leadership. Kane answered every question, always gently, always clearly. "You are not just teaching me to fight," she said finally. "You are teaching me to think, to lead, to survive." Kane nodded. "Leadership isn't about power, it's about responsibility. About knowing the cost of every choice and being ready to pay it." Days passed, and Kane trained Lyra and the rebels. He taught them to improvise, to use simple tools in clever ways, to anticipate enemy movements, and most importantly, to trust their instincts. The aliens had technology, numbers, and rigid strategy. Humans had creativity, courage, and adaptability. Lyra excelled under Kane's guidance. She began to understand why he was called father by instinct and respect. Kane did not force her, he guided her. He did not coddle, he challenged. Slowly she became stronger, braver, and smarter. But the Empire had noticed Kane's successes. High-ranking officials panicked. "This human, he is dangerous," one whispered to another. "He does not follow their rules. They cannot be controlled. We must contain him." The Empire sent their elite enforcers, warriors trained for centuries, fully armed and nearly unstoppable. Kane saw them coming on the scanners and smiled faintly. "Lyra," he said, "it's time to show them humans are not to be underestimated. Watch closely. Learn quickly." The enforcers landed near the base, moving with perfect precision. They assumed victory was guaranteed. Humans were expendable. Rebels were weak. Kane's small force was insignificant. He waited until they were within range, then turned the battlefield into chaos. Barricades collapsed at calculated moments, smoke obscured vision, and debris flew from hidden launchers. Kane's soldiers, inspired by his fearlessness, moved with speed and cunning that aliens could not predict. One by one, the elite enforcers fell into traps Kane had set. Pits, explosive charges, even simple but effective tricks like mirrors reflecting blinding light into their eyes. The aliens had advanced weapons, but humans had ingenuity, and ingenuity was lethal. Lyra watched in awe as Kane, with only a few words and gestures, controlled the battlefield like a conductor of chaos. Her respect for humans deepened. This man, this soldier, was more than a protector. He was a force of nature. By nightfall, the alien enforcers were defeated. Some retreated, but many lay incapacitated, humiliated by tactics they could never have imagined. Cain stood amidst the battlefield, bloodied but unbowed, and for the first time, Lyra saw the true weight of human courage. You did it," she whispered. Cain looked at her, serious and calm. "No, we did it. Humans alone are strong, yes, but humans with allies, with hope, with purpose, unstoppable." That night, the Empire sent a warning directly to Cain. "You are a threat. You will be neutralized. The human factor cannot be ignored." He read the message silently, then turned to Lyra. "They are afraid of us, and that fear will be their weakness." Lyra looked at him, awe shining in her eyes. "You're like a father to me now, not just a soldier, a guide, a hero." Cain smiled faintly. "Then you will be ready when the real battle comes. Humans survive by teaching, by leading, by inspiring. You, Lyra, will learn that too." The princess studied him, understanding the depth of his words. Humans were not just fighters. They were mentors, leaders, and symbols of hope. The Empire had misjudged them. The galaxy had misjudged them. And Cain, an ordinary human soldier, was proof of the unpredictable, unstoppable force that humans could be. As they looked at the stars that night, Cain felt the weight of the future pressing down. The Empire would not give up. They would send more forces, more fleets, more soldiers. But Cain had seen the cracks in their arrogance. He had seen that fear could be as powerful as weapons. And fear of humans, that fear would change the galaxy. Lyra slept at his side, confident and unafraid. Cain stayed awake, scanning the skies and planning the next moves. He knew the Empire was relentless, but humans had a quality no machine or alien could predict. They would fight, adapt, and endure against impossible odds. And soon, the galaxy would see that a single human soldier could inspire an army, protect a princess, and make even the mighty Empire tremble in fear. The moons of Violia Prime glimmered under twin suns, but the light could not mask the tension in the air. Captain Elias Cain stood atop a makeshift command post, surveying the rebel forces gathered below. They were a small army, humans, locals, and those few alien allies who had dared to resist the Empire. But they were ready. Every man and woman had been trained, guided, and inspired by Cain. Princess Lyra, standing beside him, gripped a blaster with more confidence than she had felt weeks ago. She no longer saw Cain as just a soldier. He was her father in every meaningful way, protector, teacher, and guide. "Captain Cain," Lyra said quietly, "they are coming. Thousands of troops, warships, everything the Empire has." Cain nodded. "Then it's time to show them why humans are never predictable. Remember, Lyra, fear is contagious. And humans spread courage." From orbit, the Imperial fleet descended, a massive armada of sleek warships, their engines glowing like angry stars. Their flagship, massive and black, loomed over the planet like a predator ready to strike. The Empire had sent its finest generals, their faces unreadable, their strategy flawless. And yet Cain did not flinch. The first strike came in silence. Dropping pods of elite soldiers, the Empire expected chaos, surrender, and quick victory. But humans fought differently. Humans fought with heart, with instinct, with unpredictability. Cain had prepared the battlefield to be a living weapon, turning every ridge, valley, and canyon into a trap. As the alien soldiers advanced, mines hidden beneath loose rock triggered explosions that sent the first wave tumbling. Cain had used nothing more than timing, terrain, and observation. No advanced tech, just human cleverness. Lyra led a squad of young fighters alongside him, moving through the chaos with precision. Cain had trained her well. Each movement she made was calculated, each decision a testament to human adaptability. One of the Empire's war machines, a massive, four-legged walker, approached. Its lasers cut through metal effortlessly. The aliens expected humans to scatter. Cain stepped forward, calculating the angles, the weight, the energy distribution. Using a series of improvised launchers and reflected laser arrays, the walker was disabled in a matter of minutes, toppling in a cloud of smoke and sparks. The Empire watchers in orbit blinked at the reports. How could this be happening? They were elite. Their soldiers were trained for centuries. Their weapons were unstoppable. And yet, humans fought like storms made flesh, unpredictable, unstoppable, terrifying. Kane moved across the battlefield, a blur of action. His presence inspired others, humans and aliens alike, to rise above fear. He dodged a volley of plasma fire, jumped atop a collapsed building, and directed reinforcements with calm authority. Each decision he made created openings that humans exploited, victories that aliens never anticipated. Lyra, now fully confident in her abilities, flanked an enemy squad with a small band of fighters. She used Kane's tactics, traps, misdirection, and improvisation. The alien soldiers, armed with superior weapons, fell one by one. Lyra glanced toward Kane, and he gave a subtle nod. We fight not with strength alone, but with mind and courage. Hours passed, and the Empire continued to throw its forces against the humans. Every attack was met with creative resistance. Every strike returned tenfold. Kane had transformed his small army into a force that seemed larger than the Empire's own calculations. Every victory, every clever maneuver, spread hope through the ranks of the oppressed. Humans, he reminded Lyra, were symbols of resilience. The supreme commander of the Empire, a towering alien in ornate armor, landed on the battlefield in a private drop pod. He surveyed the chaos with disbelief. "This cannot be," he hissed. "Humans cannot defeat us." "They are fragile, weak, unpredictable." Kane saw him approaching and stepped forward. The humans around him hesitated, but Kane's calm presence steadied them. He didn't draw a weapon immediately. Humans didn't always fight first. Humans observe, adapt, and strike when the moment is right. The Supreme Commander advanced, expecting Kane to be just another human soldier. Instead, Kane used the battlefield itself as his weapon. Rocks tumbled, fire ignited, and hidden snares immobilized the alien troops. Every move Kane made was deliberate, forcing the commander to react to human strategy rather than execute his own plan. "You should have stayed in your shuttles," Kane said, voice calm but carrying across the battlefield. "Humans don't fight fair because survival isn't fair." The commander lunged, but Kane anticipated every move. With quick, precise strikes, he disarmed the alien leader, forcing him to retreat. Around them, human soldiers pressed forward with ingenuity and daring. The Empire's elite forces had never faced creatures who could adapt faster than they could attack, and it terrified them. High in orbit, the Imperial fleet paused. Communications were filled with confusion and fear. "The humans, they are not like anyone we've faced. They cannot be controlled. We cannot predict them." Kane looked at Lyra. She smiled, knowing that humans were not just surviving, they were reshaping the galaxy's perception of strength. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Fear can be stronger than any weapon," he said. And today, the Empire learns what humans can do when they refuse to be afraid. The final wave of Imperial reinforcements descended, more massive than before. Kane calmly directed his forces. Humans and allies used every trick, every lesson, every instinct to turn the Empire's strength into weakness. Ships were misdirected into asteroid belts, troops fell into camouflage traps, and supply lines were sabotaged. Lyra led the final push against the alien foot soldiers. She had grown from a sheltered princess into a confident leader, inspired by Kane's teachings. Her courage inspired others, and the battlefield became a whirlwind of human ingenuity and bravery. Finally, the Empire's flagship hovered above the battlefield, its weapons aimed at Kane himself. The Supreme Commander broadcast a message: "Surrender, human. You cannot survive against the full might of the Empire." Kane's voice echoed across the comms. "We are already surviving, and humans never surrender. You may have numbers, weapons, and fleets, but we have courage, instinct, and the will to endure, and that you will never understand." For the first time, the Supreme Commander hesitated. He had faced countless civilizations, conquered planets, and crushed rebellions. And yet, he could not predict human behavior. Humans had turned fear into a weapon, improvising strategies that no algorithm or centuries of training could anticipate. And then the impossible happened. The Empire froze. Their troops stopped advancing. Ships hovered in orbit. The commander's own soldiers whispered in fear. Humans were not just fighting, they were demonstrating a force the galaxy had not accounted for. Kane stepped forward, eyes calm, arms steady. Lyra stood beside him, proud, confident, unafraid. Together, they were a symbol of human ingenuity and courage. The Supreme Commander realized the truth. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and fearless. He could not win without unacceptable losses. The Empire's pride shattered, and with it, their confidence. Retreat orders were given. Imperial forces pulled back, their defeat complete in spirit if not in numbers. The galaxy had seen something terrifying. One human soldier had inspired a resistance so strong that the Empire itself hesitated, paralyzed by fear. Kane surveyed the battlefield. The rebels cheered, the humans laughed, and Lyra ran into his arms. "You did it! You saved us all!" Kane held her, smiling faintly. "No, we did it. Humans don't fight alone. Humans fight with allies, with hope, with purpose. That's why we survive." Lyra looked up at him. "You're my father, not by blood, but by everything else. You taught me to be brave, to fight, to lead." Kane ruffled her hair. "And you taught me that humans can inspire even the smallest spark into a fire that shakes the galaxy. Never forget that." As night fell over Violia Prime, Kane and Lyra stood on the ridge, looking at the stars. The Empire had been humbled. Humans had survived, inspired, and changed the way the galaxy saw them forever. And somewhere, deep in the Empire's command, leaders whispered, "The human factor is not just dangerous, it is unstoppable." The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. And Captain Elias Kane, a soldier no one expected, had shown the true power of human courage, ingenuity, and spirit.